There was once a time I almost killed my cousin with a water bottle. Let me explain the story from the beginning. Back when I was but a wee child, age 12, I lived in a sort of two houses stuck together type of complex. One was where I lived and the other was where my cousin lived. One day, after school, I went over to my cousin's house and found myself really bored. Normally I would play with my sister or my other cousin, but they weren't home. And remember that this is back when computers were super slow, MapleStory was the hype, and kids didn't have phones at all. For some reason, on this fateful day, it was just me and my 7-year-old cousin. We were both just sitting around with the TV on, and the next thing I knew, we were tossing this half-liter completely full water bottle at each other. From my memory, we were having fun and laughing while chucking that water bottle at each other. But my cousin today tells me she was annoyed at me, and that's why she threw the water bottle back. So trust who you will, but what happened next is undisputable. The fight didn't last long. I believe we tossed the water bottle no more than 5 times back and forth. I remember feeling the impact from one of her shots. Then this visceral reaction fueled my next throw. Like a ninja star, I threw that water bottle with high speed, with the intent to hit. And hit, it did. You might think it's a water bottle, no big deal, it's squishy. Well, let me tell you, back in the day, they had big plastic caps. And that big plastic cap hit directly where her forehead was. What came next was unforgettable. At first, a little bit of blood began to leak out where she got hit. No big deal, right? Nothing a little band-aid couldn't fix. But wait, it's not stopping. My cousin starts to cry really loud, and our grandma steps into the living room and freaks out when she sees all the blood. She's yelling at me in Cantonese and grabs a wet towel and some Chinese medicine to stop the bleeding. All of it was just happening so fast and I wanted to help, but I ended up just standing there and watching as more and more blood came out of her head as she was crying. My grandma was panicking and calling all the parents, telling them what I did. Thinking about it now, I don't think I've ever seen so much blood in real life at that point in my life. After a painful period of screeching and crying, my cousin actually passed out, probably from all the blood loss. After some time, it looked like my grandma had everything under control. So I decided to go home. When I stepped out of the door, I saw my dad, which made me tense up. He was in his work uniform and he asked me about what happened. I sort of gave him the short version, leaving out the blood, and he seemed totally cool and not angry at me, which made me relax a little bit. What really surprised me was that nobody really yelled at me for what happened. Not my uncle or aunt or my mom. But at the same time, it sort of makes sense since I was avoiding everyone. But then night arrived. And I was on my bed, ready to sleep early to forget about the day. My dad came home from work, late as usual, and told me to come outside. He didn't even come into my room to tell me. It was just a shout from the living room, which made it even scarier. I was wide awake now, in anticipation for what was about to come. And I was definitely right for being scared. My dad took me outside and told me that what he was about to do was for my own good. He said it so calmly. And then he made a complete 180 and went full anger mode, had me kneel outside in the dark, hit me with a hanger, and started yelling at me. See, the hanger hitting would usually be inside, but looking back, I think my dad wanted my uncle and aunt to see that I was being punished. But as a middle schooler, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as a much bigger punishment. The ground was hard, outside was cold, and I was just crying my eyes out. After what felt like an eternity, he picked me up and walked me to their door. My uncle and aunt answered, and I could see my cousin with a band-aid on her forehead. I apologized over and over again as I was crying, and my uncle and aunt were nice people, so they forgave me. My cousin wasn't mad at me either. My dad walked me back and, in a very calm voice, told me that I could sleep now. I was as confused as I was in pain, but I was glad that it was all over. Now imagine if my grandma wasn't there that day. Would I have one less cousin to bother today? I don't know, but I certainly feel like I learned a couple things from it. The main lesson is, even if the intention is play, you have to be cautious about the potential negative consequences. It's all fun and games until a water bottle hits somebody in the head and makes them bleed out. There are always consequences. I actually don't blame my dad for treating me the way that he did, because even if it was an accident, I felt like I deserved it for being so careless. Anyways, I wanted to make this video for fun and primarily to tell a story I feel helped shape me in some way. Feel free to comment about any stories that you have that are similar or have the same themes of playing gone wrong. Let's share the trauma together. If you like this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing. It really does help a lot. If you're interested in interacting with me online, here's my social media. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day and see you in the next one.